Welcome to Kay's Tiny House, where I am documenting my adventures as I build my very own tiny house. It has been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step to. But I did, and I'm sorry. I have been working on the house. There was a long, unexpected break because, well, 1 week I intentionally took off of tiny housework. Then the second week, I got sick. I was out of the game. And then the third week, it rained every day and had crazy winds. So yeah, 3 weeks later, here we are. But before all of that, I had actually gotten a lot of work done in the bathroom, so I thought I'd share that with you today. Now, the bathroom, I had to put in the walls, and for the walls I used a foam board that is the same company as the shower pan that I used, and these come in 3x5 sheets. They're very light and easy to work with. You can cut it just using like a razor knife. I feel like there's like fiberglass or something in this because it was very, very itchy once I was like really working with it a lot. So gloves, sleeves, long pants, those all became a must after day one of putting in the walls. I started with the wall where the shower head is and just made my way along. It's recommended to use these special washers with the screws for this board that adds strength to it, especially if you're going to put tile on it. So I wanted to make sure I did that, and then I ran out of washers, so I just used more screws, and then I got washers again. I had initially bought replacement washers from Amazon, and I got a bunch of they were just cheap, not good washers. So I returned those and just bought the name brand, whatever. Every day I would just go over for an hour or two and cover up more of the bathroom wall. Similar to the rest of the walls in the house, I had to cut out holes for light fixtures, electrical outlets, etc., the exhaust fan. So those were fun. And so I was putting up this board, fitting it here. I had cut holes to allow for the pipes, and then the pipes came with me. And I realized I had never closed the connectors for the pipes. So I'm glad I caught that before I could screw that in. That was really hard to do with the insulation in the way, but it's done. I screwed it in, and it's kind of bulging here, and I think it's because this pipe is coming out a bit, but looks good so far. All right, I've got the piece that goes above the sink, so that's where the light fixture is. Fairly easy. I had to take off this wall just to double check, and I'm glad I did. I was watching an old video and I realized I had not tightened the clamps on the pipe for the water. You can see I can move them. That is not good. You want it to look like this one, which is clamped, the one to the shower head. But I'm glad I saw that. Now they are ready to have a wall. Whew. So I managed to get this whole wall of the bathroom installed. Made a hole for the exhaust fan. That was done. I need to make a niche for the shower, so that needs to have some structural work done, but then I can cover that once that's in. And then I did most of this wall as well. I left this part open so that I can run wire for the heating cables. But once that's installed, I can wall over this. Once I got a lot of the walls in place, I started sealing up the seams and covering up the screws and the washers. There's a sealant that is specific for this, so I used that. And that stuff is messy. It gets messy real quick. It's not like caulk, it's just stickier and thicker, and so that was a consistency I wasn't necessarily expecting. It was more like a paste, so just getting used to that. But I also had Kerdiband, which is just like a thick banding you can put over the seams as well. So I used that for the seams around the shower and also where the floor meets the wall. I wanted that extra kind of waterproofing security there. Schluter sells like Kerdiband that's already cut for corners, so I bought some of those where the corners of the shower pan is. I sealed all around the shower pan, and then once that was done, that was a very sticky job. So I really wanted a shower niche because there is no room to put in a shelf or something that extends, so a niche made sense. Hey, so I'm at the tiny house and I've been here for a hot minute because I'm doing a lot of measuring to figure out where I want to put the shower niche. So the only real option is underneath the window. So I will need to take out some of this insulation. And while this isn't ideal because it's an outside wall, so I'm losing a bit of insulation there. Again, I was kind of short on options. So I did have to cut out a stud so I could block out for the niche. That Tile Chick has a couple of videos that I really liked that were really helpful on this part, especially how to measure out for the niche and block it and then put foam board there. So I basically just used her guidance as to how to do it. So you can see where I've drawn a lot of lines. This is where I want the actual niche to end. But I'm gonna need to cut up here because I'm gonna need to block out where the shower niche is. So this accounts for more foam board, tile, and mortar, and then the 2x4 that'll go here. And then I did the same for the bottom, where this is where I want the bottom of the niche to be, but I'm gonna need to cut here because that's where I'm going to block for the bottom. So as I was cutting this out, I think I run into some nails. There's definitely nails from the plywood, I think, coming in. Like I can see this one, and I would imagine there's one here, because this is pretty much all the way cut through and it's like hardly budging. So we managed to get it out. And now we will block the top and the bottom. I got two 2x4s to block the top and the bottom. I had drilled pocket holes in them. There's little particles flying because of the insulation I put in there, but we've got it all blocked out so I could drill those into the side studs. And then I had a little niche blocked out. I was going to make it skinnier because it just went from one stud to the next, but I got lazy and I kind of liked the length of it. It allowed me to hold more things. So I was like, okay, I'll just keep it like that. I then put back the insulation in the gaps. This is essentially the vibe we're gonna go for. And it looks blue, but the tile is like this dark green. It's really pretty. So they will be vertical in the whole bathroom, but just getting an idea for the niche. Yay. And then I cut foam board to basically glue a backing to the plywood of the exterior wall, and then added it to the tops, bottoms, and sides of that niche. And then I sealed the hell out of it to make sure that it doesn't have any leaks. And I will be mindful of the shelf part of the niche. The bottom of it needs to slant down towards the drain so that any water can wash off. And I will add that height when I am tiling the niche. So I added more wall around the shower window, and then I started going back in and adding the sealant. So I'm putting it on all the washers and screws and all the seams. So once I was done with most of the walls, the only parts that I kept open was where the wiring was, because I'm going to install heated floors. And then where the pocket door is, I need to get some screws that are a bit shorter, because the pocket door frame is like these little metal pieces, but you only have an inch width until it gets to the door, right? So I just need to buy screws, but I screwed in the parts that went into wooden studs, so the walls up there, it's just not fully secure, so I can't tile there yet. So now to the exciting part. My friend Kim recommended heated flooring. I never even thought about it until she mentioned it, and then I looked into it and I was like, oh, that doesn't look that bad. And even though I live in Texas and you only need it for like 1 month a year, it seems like it was in the January, February months where I was working on this and it was really cold outside. So I was like, yes, totally doing it. And also the membrane used to house the heating cable is also a waterproofing membrane. So I just decided to go with Schluter. It was the easiest and most accessible for me, even though it was a bit pricier. They had a neat little tool where you could enter in the square footage of the floor that you wanted heated, and then it would recommend the length of wire and kind of set that you would need to get. So I just went ahead and did that. The membrane I got also is a peel and stick, and I know that was kind of like, ugh, okay, don't do that. But I really didn't want to mess with thin set at this time, so I was just like, I think it'll be fine. It's just adhering to the plywood of the subfloor, and yeah. We'll see how it goes. So basically this membrane, it's waterproofing membrane. It's this hard plastic, but the tops kind of look like the tops of Lego pieces. And you basically wire in the heating cable through those holes. So there's a lot of flexibility to it. You can cut up this membrane to fit the areas that you need, which is super helpful. I did like a dry fit, figured out all the pieces I needed, cut it up, peeled and unpeeled and stuck it to the floor. I was really curious about this peel and stick method, but the adhesion is pretty solid. Like once I put it down, I was like, ooh, I kind of want to like move it just like a a little bit and I couldn't, so yay. Today I put in the Dutra heat membrane. Cut around the toilet. That was probably the most painful part. But otherwise, I left some room here because I still need to add the wall for the pocket door side. This seam got wonkier and wonkier, but I will cover that with the Kerdiband to hopefully help protect the floor. And yeah, otherwise, things are looking good. It's pretty good around the shower pan. So now I'm gonna put in the wire. This is what I got in the box with the heating cable. I have 2 sensors. One will be actually connected, the other will be a backup sensor if this one breaks. And then I have the actual heating cable that I cannot cut. So I have to use up all of this in the floor here. I'm a technical writer by trade, so I feel like I really should look at these instructions, but I've watched so many videos. I'll just keep them on standby. And then I had to figure out the path for the heating cable. So the heating cable is one long piece that you cannot cut. You have to use the whole thing. And there are a few rules that Schluter recommends when you're installing this heating cable. One of them is that it needs to be 3 of the little squares in the membrane width apart from each other so that you don't overheat something. And then it needs to be at least 2 inches from the wall, and it needs to be 7 inches away from the toilet drain. So being conscientious of all these rules, I put it in one way. It was too efficient, too short. So I had a bunch of wire left over, so I redid it another way. And there were a couple places where it was 2 little bubbles apart from each other instead of 3, but I tried to minimize that as much as possible. It took me a couple tries, but I figured out a good way. So you have to be 7 inches away from the toilet drain. And then I did this so that I could use up all the water. So that's where it ends. This is where it begins. This jumble is the sensors. So there is one sensor and then the other sensor is coming into here. So next steps are, I need to get some short screws to screw in the foam board into the metal frame of the pocket door. I need to finish sealing all of the seams of the wall. I need to get more Kerdiband and finish covering up the seams where the floor meets the where the floor meets the wall, and kind of that, and the seams of the membrane, waterproofing membrane on the floor. And then I will be ready to tile the floor, which is super exciting. I've already bought the tile. I just need to buy the thin set and then I can get to it. So this is like classic project problems, but it's where you do like 90% of the project and it's pretty much done, but there's like a couple of like finishing touches that you need to do, and then you just kind of push it off because you want to move on to the next new shiny thing. So that's the stage I'm at, where there are that 10% of things of previous projects that I haven't finished yet. I want to wrap those up. One of them being the roofing, where the gables are on the sides, I need to put in rake trim. Learned that from the Metal Mart guys, what that was called, around the edges so that water and bugs and stuff can't get in from the siding of, or I guess the roofing, because it's that R panel. So I've purchased that. Doug and I have started installing it. So that will be in the next video, very likely. And then cabinets are coming up. So Doug and I have talked through kind of what I want and kind of the logistics up for the build. So making decisions like, do you want face frames? What kind of doors do you want? All of these little things. And so I'm gonna draw those plans up so I can estimate how much plywood I need to buy for those. And I'm just gonna build them out of cabinet grade plywood. I think that is it. It's a lot, right? But the bathroom is coming together. It's small, charming, adorable. It's gonna be this like dark, brooding oasis compared to the light, airy of the rest of the tiny house. So it's all very exciting, all very cool stuff. Yeah. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel to stay updated on further adventures, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.